Stephanie Milky here, aka KetoMOM, or often called mom, sis, Steffi, daughter, wife, aunt, and friend. Just like many of you, I carry a lot of titles. My favorite title is mom. I should probably say wife, which takes a lot of my time. But let's be honest, if you want to do something and do it well, you will make the time for it. Commitment is hard because we find ourselves overcommitted, but when you practice prioritizing, you will find out what is actually important and what you can let go. With the KetoMOM podcast, you will learn together how to manage our time, commit to the most important things in life, and I will equip you with the tools you need to feel qualified each step of the way. My name is Stephanie Milky, and welcome to the KetoMOM Secrets podcast. Hey, welcome to the KetoMOM page. My name is Stephanie. This is my amazing husband, Steve. We're going through the book called The Power to Change. We're actually wrapping up chapter 3. It's called From So to Who. And we were chatting about it this morning.
Yes.
And I really wanted to encourage. Yes. Yes, we were.
We were talking about chapter 3.
I wanted.
Welcome.
Well,
hey, if you're brand
where are
new
you
here,
tuning in from?
comment new down below. We'd love to be able to connect with you.
You can always go to ketomomsecrets.com. Click on mindset. You can go through any of the chapters that we've gone through in the other books. But we were talking about this morning.
Yes, we were.
Yes, we were. And I said, hey, this last chapter of this book in chapter 3 is really about your spiritual spoke. And if you don't know what that means, we went through a book called KetoMOM that Craig Groeschel wrote. Same author. And it talks about your spokes in your life and how oftentimes when we're trying to fix something, like our health spoke, maybe you're like, what does that even mean? Think about your life in different areas of your life like a tire. And so you've got your spiritual spoke. You can look at that.
I'll see if I can find it.
We've got your spiritual spoke, your financial spoke, your relationships, your work, and your physical, right? So you've got this tire that makes up a lot of different areas of your life. And if one of those spokes in the tire is broken, like in a bike tire, it affects the other spokes. And so we've talked about, this book is an incredible book. I would highly recommend you get it because if you can figure out where the broken spoke is, it usually affects all the other areas of your life. So some people will say, hey, I have some challenges in my physical life, my spiritual life, my relationships, my financial, and then we'll say something like,
that's
hey,
what those spokes look
yeah, and we'll say,
right here.
where do you mainly need to get started first? Do you need to start with your physical spoke? Do you need to fix your finances? Because one of the most broken spokes can overflow and fix all the other ones. Is this making sense? This book is incredible. I say all of that. You should hold that book up again. I would highly recommend getting this book. This is one of the very first books that we ever did.
Well, it was called
right?
the Life Development Plan back in the day, but we were just married.
Brand new. So almost 18 years ago, we went through this.
And for us, it was really helpful in discovering our core values,
right?
What we stood for with our past experiences. Now, granted, we were younger, and I think it's really important to revisit it.
I'm very wise at 40.
And that is exactly why we talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Is because your core values do matter. Your purpose matters. Your dreams matter. Your skill sets matter. Your habits matter. You are the sum total of the habits you are today.
Right.
But just because you're at where you're at today, for some of you, you could be in an excellent spot. Some of you could be like, it could be a little bit better.
Right.
But that's what life is all about. It's all about the journey and the pursuit of better. And so what I've really loved about what Craig has done is he's really modeled a lifestyle of being a great husband, a great father. He's a great spiritual mentor, his physical fitness, his finances. Like, that's why we're reading some of these books. That's why this year I've chosen Craig as being like, this is going to be the guy. I'm going to consume all of his podcasts, leadership podcasts. I'm going to listen to all of his messages. I'm going to read all of his books.
It's like your number one mentor this year, which by the way, Steve used to work for Life Church. And so he used to work right down the hallway from Craig. So didn't have like a best friend relationship, but enough to where you would say, yeah, he's an incredible man. And even getting to know him down to as much proximity as you had, still what he writes is what he preaches. What he preaches is what he does.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Well, sometimes you can see people online and you're like, oh my goodness, they're like the greatest person in the whole world. But then when you meet them in real life, you're like, oh, I'll never forget.
We've had that.
When I was how old was I? When did we go to Indianapolis to the wakeboard competition?
We were 19.
I
18
was
and 19.
for sure going to become a professional wakeboarder.
Yes.
Like that's just what I wanted to do.
We started dating and he said, hey, we're going to be moving. If we get married, I'm going to be a professional wakeboarder.
I went there and I thought, I'm going to go meet my role model.
Some of the top wakeboarders in the world.
And I'm not going to say any names, but I'll just say when I went there,
he was super disappointed. It was a really sad trip, actually.
I was just let down.
You were so sad.
I was, because I thought this is not the lifestyle that I want to live.
You didn't want your life to model them, how they talked.
So have you ever, I actually need to talk to the girls about this. I've never talked about that. Sometimes in life, have you ever been so certain, like this is going to be our next step? Like this is going to be the next thing I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden.
We were for sure moving.
Stuff happens.
Well, we were going to get married and then move.
Stuff happens. And then all of a sudden it's like course corrected everything.
Yeah.
And so that's why I just want to show you this wheel one more time. Because this wheel is so important. These aspects of work, God, people, finances, and health. Those are all so important because if, let's just say, for example, if they're not all 10s and one's a 5, and just say your work-life balance is ridiculous. But let's just say, for example, work is like a 5. Everything else is solid. If you're going down the highway and this tire all of a sudden hits that spoke, what's going to happen? You're going to pop a tire. You're going to be stranded on the side of the road.
Right.
So that's why we talk about this. It's not just always food related.
Right.
That's why we talk about all of these different spokes, because it is so important to be able to keep moving.
Well, and if you think about it like this, oftentimes people will say, I eat out of emotion, or I'm not sure how I've gotten to this point with just their physical spoke. And sometimes you have to back up a little bit and you have to go, well, what's causing you to eat? Is it because your finances are a wreck and you're so stressed out that you're eating? Right? So therefore, you're trying to fix the wrong spoke. It's really not the eating aspect. You're eating because you're completely in debt, or you're frustrated with a relationship, or something else is broken. And if you fix that spoke, it would fix the other ones.
I like it.
So
what are some of the highlights you got for these lovely people today?
So the last chapter 3.6 says from so to who. I actually read it at first and I was like, wait, what? I don't get what he's saying. And he basically says this: oftentimes we're going after goals and we're saying something like this: I want to lose weight to get to this summer so I can wear the bathing suit so that I can attract the person that I want so that I ultimately can get married. He says, so I can fit into a bathing suit, so I can attract that person, so I can find a spouse, so I can get married. And he said the problem with that is the word so. And so we've been talking, and so we've been talking about it, but this entire chapter wraps up everything we've been talking about before we dive into the last little bit of this book, and it's the who part. And he basically says, we want goals that are not about what we are getting or what we are doing, but about who we are becoming. Not getting, not doing, it's who we're becoming. And then he says in this last chapter, it's a super short chapter, he says, you can be successful today by taking another step towards being more Christ-like. It's not so I can attract that person, so I can. It's because I am becoming more Christ-like. Steve has been saying this a lot with his non-sugar addiction. It's not, hey, I'm not going to eat that cookie so that I can be, actually, you used to say this. Mm-hmm. So Steve used to say, Stephanie, yeah. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to be more sexy so you love me more. Yeah. You said that to me all the time. And I always would say, hey, just so you know, I'm not looking at you a certain way. I'm not looking so that you get a 6-pack so I love you more. That has nothing to do with, I would always say that, but that's not even a goal. Right?
All right. Can any of you relate? Have any of you ever said something like that?
I'm going to do this so my spouse loves me more, right? And so he recently has changed it. Why are you working on your health? So,
well,
but you're becoming.
Well, it's funny. I was on the phone yesterday with a friend. We were on a lovely date.
We were on a date. If you watched our stories, we were at the grocery store.
Talking to a really good friend. And I was telling him, I said, I have actually overcome this sugar addiction. I've been challenged with this forever.
You said I've been delivered.
And I said, honestly, I've been delivered. I do not, it's almost hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's like beyond a feeling, because temptation is always around me. Everywhere I go, there's sugar, there's cookies, there's desserts. I went out with some friends yesterday for breakfast, and it's like there's muffins and there's pancakes and there's pies and all this stuff. And for the first time in my life, there's not like this draw. There's not this desire to it. The only thing that has changed is I have been delivered. My mind has been transformed.
Right.
It's the who before the do. And so I just want to encourage you that it is possible. And the spiritual spoke is a real thing.
Right.
Because I am 38 years old and I've had nothing but sugar addictions my entire life for as long back as I can remember. And some of you might be saying, well, we'll just see, Steve. We're just going to watch what happens. I'm going to say, enjoy watching. And my encouragement to you would be, join us on this journey. Because if you can transform your mind with who you are and how your thinking is, it can transform your habits and your statements you say about yourself.
Right. Well,
it can truly put you at a completely different level.
And it's no longer you saying, I'm going to get sexy so my wife loves me more. You said, I'm taking care of my temple to be a God-honoring husband.
Yes.
Right? To become.
There it is.
You've changed it. So It's not. So really, when you find yourself setting goals and we're talking about habits and you're going down this book, if you find yourself in your mind saying, so I can, you need to go, I'm not, what did I just say? Because you're becoming
Yeah.
It's who you're becoming.
It's who are you becoming?
Yep. All right. So he just talks about
who are you becoming?
Yes.
Oh, hold on a second.
All right.
That sounds like a book that Stephanie has talked about for a long time. Anybody, for those of you who've been around for maybe 7 or 8 years, you've heard this constant theme
all right.
of like,
all right. I'm working on it.
Who is she becoming?
All right. So he says this, the small things that no one sees can lead to the big results everyone wants. The big results we want is to be more like Jesus. And so Steve switched it from trying to become and make me happy because he thinks that would, I don't know. Basically, he's saying your spiritual spoke is important. And when you look at yourself and you go, I'm doing this, I'm honoring my finances to be a better steward, to be more like Jesus. I am working on my health to honor my temple, to be more like Jesus. I am working on relationships and working on my marriage or my children to show love like Jesus.
Here's why I think this is important in a nutshell.
And so that's what this chapter is about.
It's fascinating because you can look at some of the most successful people in the world. I'm not going to name any names. I'm just saying, just look at people's fruit of what they are doing in life.
Okay.
And there's some people that are I'll just say in the crypto space. Okay.
I don't look at space money, but yes.
They've made a lot of money off of space money. They bought all of the things, all of the jewelry, all of the designer clothes, all of the houses. They went on all of the things.
All the trips.
All the trips. All of the things.
I don't know these people.
But the reality is, when they talk recently, like today, they seem empty. They seem unfulfilled.
Oh, because the space money disappeared?
It's coming back.
I call crypto space money.
My point is, the spokes on the wheel, all of them serve a point and serve a purpose. But if you are missing the spiritual aspect,
right,
and if it's not rooted in a spiritual reason, the who before the do, it's not going to work.
100%.
It's just not going to work. You're going to leave unfulfilled. And I do like this next line because I feel like this is true. Success happens not by accident, but by habits. Okay.
Right.
And it's so easy to talk about all of the habits in your work, how to become a better worker. We can talk about all the habits on how to eat better for your health and to work out harder. We can talk about relationships and finances, all of the habits to become the best version of yourself.
Right.
But so often people do not talk about the spiritual aspect. They do not talk about the spiritual spoke. And the reality is, like, if your life is separated from Jesus, if you don't have a walking, living relationship, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about a relationship with the creator of heaven and earth. If you're missing that relationship with Jesus, that's what matters. That's 100%. What brings true fulfillment. That's what brings true joy. And so some of you might be tuning in and you're like, I just wanted to lose 40 pounds of fat. What's going on?
This was the keto page.
The reality is the spiritual spoke, the who before the do is what truly matters.
Yeah.
And so if that's you and you're like, I don't even know where to begin, I don't know where to start, send Stephanie a message.
Yeah.
Send us a message.
We'd love to chat with you.
Comment down below, and we would love to be able to connect with you. We'd love to talk to you about what that looks like, what next steps could look like for you.
Right.
Because the reality is, at the end of the day, and if that last day is sooner rather than later.
Well, at the end of your life.
Which is 100% certain for every single person.
Right.
We just want to make sure that you've made the right decision, like that you're going in the right path. And honestly, you never know where that one decision, how it can not just impact you, but it can impact your family. It can impact your community,
right,
and how it truly impacts the world, because your life does matter. Your dreams do matter. The desires of your heart do matter. And they're there for a reason. You are great because greatness made you. And so I hope that resonates. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's an encouragement today on this Friday.
I love it. So you can always go also to life.church. It's Craig's church, Pastor Craig's church. And if you don't even know, you can watch it online. You can get plugged in. You can just start your journey. Reach out. We would love to have any conversation with you, ask questions. Otherwise, continue to tune in. We will start chapter 4, part 4 on Monday.
Sowing, not reaping.
Sowing, not reaping. So here's the book. If you want to grab it, I would encourage you to grab it or listen to the Audible. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an incredible day, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye, everybody.